Gonna bring in Teresa Ambat right now. Hey, Teresa, how are you?
Good, I'm good. How are you, Mitch?
Good, doing well. Thanks so much for joining. I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah,
Um, you seem like a very creative person in general, so I just want to hear. Tell me the intro on yourself.
sure. No, yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, my name is Teresa. I am a 26-year-old creative and entrepreneur based in Seattle. I do a couple of different things. So, kind of the first thing I do is run this small little sticker shop where I make these like Catholic video game merch stickers of Catholic saints. I guess if you're watching on video, I have this little hoodie of
Nice.
Blessed Carlo in Sprite form. So I started that about a year ago, and it's been doing pretty well. And then I do a couple of other things, a lot of freelance stuff. So I started off doing freelance music production and sound design, audio editing for things like podcasts or audiobooks, radio theater. I'm also a freelance photographer, so doing a lot of concert photography around here in Seattle, as well as general portraits and engagement wedding shoots. Um, and yeah, I think that's about it in terms of what I do.
That's cool. Have you always been in Seattle?
For the most part, um, sorry, just had to adjust my audio. For the most part, I grew up in Washington, a little bit north of Seattle, then moved into the city for college in 2016. So I've been in the city of Seattle since 2016.
Nice, cool. Um, what did you? Which one of these endeavors did you start first? Like, how did you kind of get into all this?
Yeah, I music has always been my first love. So I've been a musician since I was a kid, basically. My dad introduced me to the guitar and I love to sing. So it just kind of taught myself how to make my own music and produce songs. Then in college, I studied computer music, which is kind of a bit of like sound design and a lot of music technology stuff. So after that, I delved like a little bit into freelance music production, doing stuff for some podcasts and a couple of short films. But I don't do too much freelance music production now. It's mostly just like when it comes to music, I really like to keep it to myself. Uh, just because, sometimes it's kind of hard to make what I love my work. And so I decided I was just going to keep music for myself. And then everything else kind of, it fits the rhythm for freelance work. But I really just wanted to make music more personal to me. But that was kind of how I started getting into the whole freelance stuff was first in music production after college. So yeah.
Very cool. Very
Thanks.
cool. So the Saint Sprites, like what inspired that?
Yeah, great question. Saint Sprites was inspired by the beatification of Blessed Carlo back in October of 2020. So that was 4 years ago. And I think I just like I learned about him on his beatification and discovered that he loved video games and was a saint and was just like basically this modern day saint who did regular things but loved Jesus in the Eucharist and had a deep devotion to him in the Eucharist. And so I was very inspired, and I thought, okay, this guy, he loves computer programming. He probably, if he were alive today, probably would be making really amazing games about like the saints or just really virtuous games. And so I was like, oh, that would be so cool if there was like, I don't know, an RPG where you could walk through the life of Maximilian Kolbe or Joan of Arc. And so I started drawing these little pixel art saints on my iPad. And I'm not a graphic designer or illustrator of any sort. So it started off pretty rough. But I was just doing it for fun. And at the time, I was doing a lot of music production. So I made these sort of chiptune renditions of Christian hymns and like put them together on an Instagram reel and just shared them on the internet. And then over time, my friends were just like, "Hey, are you gonna like sell those like images as like stickers or something because I'd love to buy some. And I was like, oh, I guess maybe. And then later on, my friend was like, I want to buy 40 stickers for my kindergartners. And I was like, you want 40? And I was like, that's such a huge number in my mind. And so then I started thinking like, okay, maybe this could be something. Maybe this is something that people actually want. So yeah, I kind of took the plunge and bought all of the equipment, bought a printer, one of those like sticker cutters, started teaching myself how to make them by hand. Um, and yeah, just kind of took a dive, did some social media marketing, and then yeah, now it's where it is today, which is still very small, but um still relatively consistent. And I've been able to build a pretty good community on Instagram of just like really faithful Catholic gamers. So yeah, that's a bit of
Oh,
how it started.
that's really cool. What was it like? So you kind of realized that you were onto something, like people are going to want this. It's very unique. What was it like then turning from the creative aspect of just drawing these things? You're like, okay, how do I get the materials? Like, how do
Mm,
I sell these? Like, what were some of the challenges there?
yeah, that's a great question. For me, I'm somebody who loves like I love a big project with all the little details and different aspects of it. So it was definitely a challenge, but I really enjoyed it. It was it was pretty hard. I think the most difficult thing was just figuring out how to produce these stickers themselves. Um, I spent like maybe a whole entire 2 days just trying to learn the software that I needed and the hardware, and it was pretty frustrating. But I mean, eventually I got it down. And once you get into the rhythm of things, then it's like, okay, this is just kind of second nature with making the stickers themselves. But with the social media marketing, I was working in marketing for a nonprofit at the time, so I kind of already knew a little bit about how to make reels and boost ads and making captions and stuff. And so I took a little bit of what I learned from my job and kind of applied it to Saint Sprites, and it was definitely like a slow process of like just kind of, especially those first couple of posts. You kind of just feel like you're throwing it out into the darkness, not really sure who's gonna see it. But yeah, I mean, over time, as more and more people saw the reels or the ads that I was putting out, and people started telling their friends about it or sharing it, it was kind of more like this snowball effect. Um, but I don't know. I had a lot of confidence going into it that this was something people were gonna enjoy. I think just because I hadn't seen anything like it before, and my friends really liked what I was doing or were asking a lot about where they could buy the stickers and stuff. So I don't know. I wasn't very worried about having to market this just because I felt like it was a good enough product that people would enjoy it. So yeah, I feel like the hardest part was just like figuring out how to make everything and set everything up. Um, and then once I got that all figured out, it just kind of became routine. So
Yeah. Social media wise, when you started to create content and do some advertising there, what were some of the first like platforms you went to and like first things you tried?
yeah, first things I tried were Instagram and TikTok. Um, I didn't I didn't maintain TikTok very much. I've been thinking about going back to it, but I kind of just wanted to focus on one, so I stuck with Instagram mainly. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. And then so I've been following on Instagram for a couple months now. Um, for the listeners who don't follow you yet, first of all, tell them your username so that they can follow you. But like, tell me about some of like the content you've been creating lately. Like,
Mm.
I think it's been very interesting and unique.
Thanks. Yeah, so if you are on Instagram, you can just look up our shop, Saint Sprites. So that's Saints, or sorry, Saint Sprites, like the soda, but plural. Um, Yeah, I've been doing a couple of different things. I'm mostly just like trying to figure out what sticks. A lot of this is trial and error, but trying to mainly do a mix of different types of content. So of course a lot of product photography and just showing what it is that we sell. But I also try to post some engagement type content. So asking people questions about like I think the most recent one was what are you looking forward to playing this Christmas or what games are you looking forward to receiving this Christmas? Or like how how do you think games can aid in catechesis in the church? Or how do you how do you practice temperance when it comes to play? And so just encourage like trying to build up more of a community of people who are virtuous and trying to bring virtue into gaming, but also take virtue from gaming and see how it can apply to their own lives. And then I've also been trying to encourage prayer before games. And so I wrote this little prayer before video games. We have a little prayer card that I've been selling. And so I just have like a little reel of me praying before I play my games. But and it did pretty well. A lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, I've never thought to do this," or like, "Oh wow, this like makes me really reminds me of like the childlikeness that comes with playing games and inviting Jesus into my play." And so yeah, like kind of the whole mission of Saint Sprites is really to encourage childlike faith and Christian adventure. That's like the whole reason why I sell these things is to for people to have these cool little stickers of their favorite saints on their computers or game consoles, but also to like remind people of the adventure toward Christ. And so yeah, those are a couple examples of different kinds of content. I've been trying to get into animation a little bit with the pixel art, and so I did a little reel of Saint Albert, like looking through his telescope, looking at the night sky that's kind of panning across the screen. But yeah.
That's really neat. What other like merch do you have?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously got the stickers. Got we have these hoodies, as well as some T-shirts of Blessed Carlo. Just put out the new prayer before video games prayer cards, as well as a couple of different sticker sheets. So I have a Blessed Carlo sheet, set of stickers, along with some Dominican sheets. Just put out the Advent Christmas set as well, and then a Sacred Heart like set of sticker sheets. In the future, I would really love to do like pins and keychains. I feel like people are really into those, so that's definitely a hope for next year. But so far, it's just been stickers and hoodies and t-shirts. So
Nice, very cool. Um, do you see where this is like? Do you have any idea of where this is heading in the future? Obviously, you said a couple other product ideas. Like, I think your mission, you seem very mission driven, and it's a really good like mission to have. I feel like, and just like the ways that you could like move forward with that. So I'm curious if there are any like big plans coming up, or just thoughts that you have.
yeah, 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 definitely. I really want there to be more community amongst Catholic gamers, particularly like Catholic game developers. Cuz I my dream has always been like, oh, I want to sound design for Catholic games. Or, RPGs about the saints or about the gospel. Um I unfortunately just haven't had the time to really delve into that or find the resources to. So, my hope for like the later future is to start a Catholic game jam. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with what game jams are?
Mm-mm.
So, a game jam is basically it's similar to like a hackathon where coders will come and just like build a coding project, but instead it's like you're building a game. So it can take over the course of like a month or a week or a weekend. And so all these game developers come together and are put in little teams, and they're assigned to create a game based on a particular theme within a certain time constraint. And you'll find that you like hundreds of games get made from these game jams because you have so many people from all across the world joining these game jams just to make these tiny little games with people for fun. So I would love for there to be something like that, but for Catholics, where Catholic developers come together for like, and it can be online or something remotely, and they come together and make, I don't know, a mini game about, like, I don't know, Joan of Arc, um, or yeah, I don't know, just any type of like Catholic theme. And I feel like my thinking around this is we don't have to wait for like these giant companies or like $1 million companies, or we don't have to wait for some big investor to invest into a singular Catholic game. Like we can just get faithful Catholics who already love games making a ton of these smaller Catholic games and putting them out into the world. So that's like a much later hope for Saint Sprites, is to be able to cultivate a culture around that and a community where people can get together and, you know, talk about how to make games that are virtuous, and they don't have to even be explicitly Christian. Um, but yeah, like I just think about what Carlo would be doing today if he was still alive, and I'm like, he would be making these really awesome games that point people toward God. And so I'm like, why wait? Let's just do it now. There's people who love God, who love games, who are really skilled at it. Um, so yeah, I feel like that's like the main dream for Saint Sprites, is to just cultivate more culture with game developers.
I think that'd be so cool. I never heard of that game jam, but like that's a really interesting concept.
Mhm.
Are there Catholic games that exist now? Like what are they? I don't even know.
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't heard of much. Um, excuse me. I know there's a Bible game coming out. It's not Catholic, but I think it's called like Bible X. And you essentially just like, it almost looks kind of like Assassin's Creed kind of vibes, but you basically
Mm,
like play through the Bible. I think it's available on PC, but I think somebody was trying to make a Carlo game. I don't know what the progress is on that. I think they were still like trying to find funding and stuff for it, but yeah, not off the top of my head. I'm not really sure about any Catholic games today.
yeah. Well, I mean, to that point, it's just like it seems like that is such an interesting area to dive into, like there's clearly probably a need for it. There's definitely a
Mm-hmm.
niche, like people that are interested in that. So, um, yeah, I think that's a really cool vision, and definitely encourage you to keep going. I think that just
Thanks.
sounds super neat.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there's a desire for it too. Of like, people really want games that will speak to them. And I don't know if you've read Bobby Angel's book, Gaming and the Heroic Life. It's a really good book, but like there's just so much good that can come from a game that speaks meaning into people's hearts. Like it's really powerful. Um and I mean, you know, other types of media, movies, books, they can really speak to us. What's different about games is that you're actually like interacting with it, so it kind of impacts you in a different way. And
Hmm.
so it's like, yeah, what if we had games that really spoke truth to the heart? And it doesn't even have to be an explicit way of like, here's Jesus and stuff, but like something that plants a seed or encourages people to ask these bigger questions about their life. I feel like people crave that, even though they
Yeah,
don't know it. So yeah, yeah, I would love to see more Catholic games in the world.
yeah, that's a powerful like message and vision. I think there is such a need for that, and just meaningful games, like meaningful leisure is something that is, to your point, like feeding you as an individual when you're
Hmm.
when you're spending time gaming or just leisure in general. But um Where can people kind of find you and keep up with you, get stickers, merch, all that good stuff?
Sure. Yeah. So you can find Saint Sprites on Instagram at Saint Sprites. Our website is saintsprites.com, where you can find all of our products on there. If you want to follow me personally, my Instagram is Teresa Ambat. And then I also have a personal website, teresaambat.com. So that's where you can connect with me.
Awesome. I'm going to put that down below as well. Teresa, any last piece of advice for other Catholic creatives
Mm,
and entrepreneurs?
wow. Um, Pray. I think that's the biggest thing, is to make sure that your life has a foundation of prayer. That's where everything flows from, is God. Everything that you create is a gift from God. And so always inviting him into what you're making, even if it's like something small. Just always acknowledging his presence with you as you're working is such a huge thing. And then I think, like, don't be afraid to dream big. Don't be afraid to brainstorm ideas that you've never come up with before, and try to pursue them. The best things that have come out of this world are from people who had the courage to pursue something that might not have been pursued before. So, yeah, take everything to prayer, invite Jesus into your creative work, and don't be afraid to dream big.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Teresa. It's been a pleasure. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Excited for everyone to hear this one. And just, yeah, God bless you on your future endeavors with this.
Thank you, Mitch. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.